And we're going to transfer into our next speaker. Our next speaker is, the presentation is Tribal Waste Assistance Response Steering Committee's Priorities Document. Rebecca Stevens and John Wheaton. So thank you and welcome this morning.
Good morning. I'm Rebecca Stevens with the Coeur d'Alene Tribe. I'm the tribe's Hazardous Waste Management Program Manager, as well as the Restoration Coordinator for the tribe working in the world of CERCLA. And I'm also the Vice Chair of the Tribal Waste and Response Steering Committee. And John, do you want to introduce yourself before we get started?
Sure. I'm John Wheaton with the Nez Perce Tribe, Tots Mewi. Thank you for allowing us to present.
Yeah, we really do appreciate having a few minutes with Region 10's Tribal Environmental Leaders Summit, so thanks for having us. The TWARS, we of course acronym it like Scott said, and good to see you, Scott. The Tribal Waste Assistance Response Steering Committee is a national tribal partnership group that strives to communicate the concerns and perspectives of tribal professionals working in the fields of solid waste, emergency response, Superfund, underground storage tanks, brownfields, and other contaminated sites to U.S. EPA senior staff on an annual basis. We meet with them in D.C. and work on developing our priorities document, and we engage with them throughout the year as issues come up in those different media. We meet 4 times a year, 2 in person, 2 over the phone, and we work very closely with our coordinators from the Institute of Tribal Environmental Professionals. ITEP, as you've heard from before, hopefully most of you are familiar with ITEP and did attend the Tribal Lands Environment Forum that Scott just mentioned. They are funded under a 5-year cooperative agreement, which is a competitive process for the EPA, and they've been our coordinators for the last, I think, going on 8 years. As mentioned, we work very closely with EPA staff and the Office of Land and Emergency Management, and we help ITEP and other tribes in Alaska Native villages develop the annual Tribal Lands and the Environment Forum. And I have to mention that with ITEP's assistance, we're able to provide trainings and all of those different media to tribes in Alaska Native villages as they try to navigate a somewhat difficult process sometimes. Currently, we have membership from the Region 10. We have the Coeur d'Alene Nez Perce Tribe with John and I, La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians out of Region 9, Oneida Tribe of Indians out of Region 5, and Region 7 representatives are the Prairie Band of Potawatomi Indians, Sac and Fox Nation from Missouri, Kansas, and Nebraska, the Sani Sioux, out of Nebraska as well, and out of Region 6, we have Choctaw Nation as well as the Quapaw Nation represented on the steering committee. Steering committee members are selected on a competitive basis, and we strive to have a good geographic representation from around the nation in Alaska. And so keep yourself in line with what's going on with this TWAR steering committee, because John will mention that we're soliciting for new members here in the spring of 2021. Looks like I'm going to have some difficulties here, folks. So, John, until I can figure out how to get the presentation up, would you like to go over some of the mission statement of our priorities document for me, please?
Sure, absolutely, Rebecca. Sorry you're having difficulties. Hello, everybody. So the mission statement for our 2020 priorities document is maintain a cooperative exchange of information between American Indian tribes and Alaskan Native villages, U.S. EPA, OLM, and other federal partners and organizations to assess, understand, prevent, or mitigate environmental impacts that adversely affect health, culture, and natural resources. You can see a lot of thought went into creating that, but we tried to cover everything and then be correct on announcing the American tribes and Indian country, Alaskan Native villages. Our overarching goals and objectives are, there's 5 of them that are addressed. Rebecca had mentioned them before: solid waste, brownfields, underground storage tank, Superfund, federal facilities, emergency preparedness and response. I just wanted to go over some of the priorities that we had in last year's documentation that was coordinated through ITEP and EPA. W-STARS is an IHS sanitation deficiency program evaluation, and that deals with water, wastewater, and our waste issues. And so that's just a point system, and we kind of have that on the radar for kind of eliciting the solid waste aspect of things. We encourage recycling development or sustainment. Infrastructure task force was also something that had been derived as an issue to address barriers and coordination with agencies that help Indian country. Brownfields is the next media, and we make suggestions to EPA on evaluation criteria and increasing cleanup on treaty lands and customary use areas. UST is a priority, includes having a tribal database, increased compliance, and uniform tank inventory form. Our next media is Superfund and federal facilities. Priorities to focus on tribally led cleanups, increased GIS layers, LIDAR, involve cultural resource monitoring using TIPO, Tribal Historic Preservation Office, and last but not least, the emergency preparedness and response, which is in my wheelhouse, emergency management planner for the Nez Perce tribe. But we kind of all dabble in each of the medias, but the membership is selected as experts of their media. And for the emergency response and preparedness, we focus on intertribal communications and awareness with the various roles and responsibilities. We focus on encouraging tribes to have incident command and preparedness training and have knowledge of the contingency plan, the national contingency plan, and to take part in the local emergency planning committees with counties, which are the LEPC meetings. And the regional response teams are represented at the Northwest Area Committee meetings. And so we encourage tribes to be more involved with that and encourage tribes to develop their own tribal emergency planning committee to understand their own capacities and response. We know not all tribes have the same capacities, but these 5 overarching goals and objectives in the priority document reflect known common tribal issues that could possibly be addressed. So we put them in our priorities. TWAR steering committee membership is comprised of experts in specific media, and they all 10 work together with ITEP and EPA before deciding on specific priorities that address tribal issues. And this is my favorite slide, the EPA respond to the priorities document annually. So these are specific things that EPA does to really help us and guide us and give us the support that we need. They strongly support tribal program groups and tribal ecological knowledge, and they attend sovereignty and climate adaptation courses that help us facilitate what tribes are trying to communicate to EPA. They document all the tribal treaty rights, Aboriginal territories, and customary traditional use areas, which is very important to tribes across the nation to be able to address their issues. And they maintain annual meetings with TWAR and OLM directors. So this is very important because we get to meet in Washington and meet with the OLM directors, and we bring some issues to the table, and then they are able to communicate to us how they are communicating to tribes across the nation. And they also leverage resources in increasing tribal capacity. So finally, the TWAR Steering Committee assists ITEP with the planning and coordination of the Tribal Lands Environmental Forum, national conversation on tribal land and water resources. The TWAR take feedback from EPA on the priorities document in the fall and typically start working on it in February when the steering committee and ITEP meet with program leads and OLM. In the past year, TWAR and our tribal coordinator with OLM initiated a process to get feedback from EPA on an annual basis responding to our priorities, goals, and objectives. Drafting pre-2020 COVID pandemic was usually in February in DC with OLM program leads. This will most likely take place in 2021. But if you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself, Mark Junker, our chairman, or Rebecca Stevens, or Todd Barnell, the executive of the ITEP, or Eric. So the information's there, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for carrying the water on our presentation. And we do want to highlight that we have a really strong partnership with our tribal coordinator, Erica Wilson, out of the DC EPA office. And it's relational for all of us to have these good connections. And so we're very thankful for having her as our coordinator, and we welcome any feedback that you have, and please take a look at our priorities document and let us know how we can assist you in issues that you might be having in your neck of the woods. So thanks for having us today.
Thank you, Rebecca and John.